What is up, Nerd Nation? It's your boy Hunter here for Film Nerd TV, and tonight we are back again with another episode of the Nerd List. And tonight, in honor of The Nun coming out tomorrow night, where I am, we are doing the top 7 best horror movies from the 1990s to today. I'm not here alone because that would be a very boring list if I was. I'm joined by, of course, Malcolm, who is on here for the 4th time, I believe, correct?
Yeah, sounds about right.
So, welcome. I'm joined by Luca, who was on the anime list. Welcome.
And on the worst comic book. Oh, that one didn't exist, right?
That one does not exist.
Officially speaking, it's my 2nd time on here. It also marks the 500th time I've talked about horror movies on the internet.
Yeah. And I'm here with someone new who has been on my channel before, Russell Howell. Russ, how's it going, man?
Good, man. Yeah, anytime I can talk horror movies, I always like horror movies. So, very underrated genre of film. So, I'm always a fan to talk about it. Get some of these movies some love. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, okay. Definitely. As you guys know, horror movies are one of my favorite genres. So, I've got a very extensive list going on here. So, for our new fans, here's how this kind of show works. We have a nomination process of 1 to 10. Once we have our 10, then we eliminate 3, getting down to our top 7, and then with our top 7, we rank them 7 to 1. Very simple. So let's start off with Malcolm with his first nomination.
My first nomination I'm going to bring up is it's one of my favorite horror musicals out there. It's Sweeney Todd's The Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I mean, this one is. I've loved this one ever since I saw it. Like, I'd not actually heard of this musical before they made the movie of it. It's just like Johnny Depp, like as a crazy barber, doing his usual crazy antics. Like, you've got the late Alan Rickman as Judge Turpin. You've got Helena Bonham Carter. You've got Tim Burton directing it, doing what he does best with creepy horror. It's just one that it fits, and the music is done really great as well.
All right, so we have Sweeney Todd. Luca.
See, I am mixed bag when it comes to Tim Burton. There's some of his stuff that I really like. There's some of his stuff that I really don't. But the thing that I always say about Burton is that Sweeney Todd is kind of the point where I really lost him. That was the point for me where it was like, okay, this is becoming a little bit stale, a little bit dry. And kind of Malcolm said, you know, it's Johnny Depp doing his usual antics, and that's very true. Everyone in this film is cast very much to type. Johnny Depp plays Johnny Depp. Helena Bonham Carter plays Helena Bonham Carter. Alan Rickman plays Alan Rickman. Sacha Baron Cohen somehow plays Sacha Baron Cohen in Victorian London. And Tim Spall plays Tim Spall. And I love the musical. I think the musical is great. And I think the music still works really well. But as a film, I just found it to be a little dreary, a little dull, not for me. So I'm going to give that one a no, I'm afraid.
All right, Russ.
I feel like Luke and I are going to rain down negativity on movies. Yeah, I can't get behind it, though. I do echo what Lucas said. Yeah, that's kind of the point where Tim Burton kind of lost me as well. I love his early '90s films and stuff like that, but when we get to the 2000s, after Big Fish, kind of just started losing me, especially with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and all those other films. This one, I do appreciate the cast. I think it is a good musical overall, though. To me, when I think of horror movies, it's something I can go back and rewatch. Rewatchability of a film. To me, Sweeney Todd's just not a rewatchable film for me. So I got to throw it down a big no. I'm sorry, Malcolm.
All right, so going on to me, which it would technically be off anyway, because if I said yes, it'd be a tie. But yeah, I kind of agree with them. I like the music in Sweeney Todd, but I do feel like I've watched it once and it's kind of boring, kind of dreary. Like, I don't want to go back and watch it. And again, it's Johnny Depp playing Johnny Depp pretty much, which has now just become what he does. So I probably would give it a no also.
It's also got one of my least favorite actors of all time in it, Jamie Campbell Bower, who is like textbook, like pretty boy, no performance.
All right, Luca, go ahead with yours.
I'm going to kick us off with some weird shit. So I'm going to go with a film from 1999. So for people who don't know, I did a list kind of like this on Full Metal 5, and it was from the 2000s to today. And one of the films that I really sort of was annoyed that I couldn't get on because it was right at the cusp of '99 was Takashi Miike's movie Audition, which is just about the hardest time I've had watching a movie in a long time. It's a Japanese film about a guy who's his wife dies of an illness, and he essentially decides to hold an audition for a show. He's a TV executive, and he decides he's going to hold an audition for a show. But what he's secretly doing is auditioning for a wife, and he finds this woman who's sort of beautiful and meek and sort of timid. And then he kind of looks into who she is and what she's like, and she's really, really twisted. There's a lot of like really interesting kind of, I guess, quasi-feminist narrative stuff here. There's a lot of sort of playing with reality, playing with people's past and present, playing with perception. For me, it's one of the greatest horror films of all time. It's certainly my favorite horror film of the 90s, and it's just a stellar piece of work. I think it is uncomfortable. I think it is difficult. I think it is painful to sit through. The last 20 minutes are just some of the most horrible torture scenes I've seen in cinema. So that's the one I'm going to go with because it's the one that left, I guess, the most profound impact on me from having seen it. Takashi Miike's 1999 magnum opus, Audition.
All right, Audition. Russ, what do you think?
I've actually seen it, so yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll give it a yeah. I remember seeing this film, just being kind of stunned and awe because you don't really know much about this female at the beginning of the film, and then you start to unravel the crazier side that she has, and you are uncomfortable during the film. You are walking on pins and needles, so to speak. The movie is very good. I do echo with Luca. I do remember seeing this film on DVD. I remember buying it, and I think I saw it in early 2000s, I would say. Couple years after it was out, but yeah, I enjoyed the film. It was something different, and anytime that we can get a Japanese film in on this, yeah, I'm down. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a yeah.
All right, going on to me. I personally haven't seen it, so that's gonna be a no for me. Malcolm.
Yeah, and what's probably going to be a trend for a lot of Lucas picks. I haven't seen them, especially when he goes for his out there picks.
At least
that he does. But I will have to check that one out because I love watching different Japanese horror movies, so I'll have to give that one a try. All right, Russ?
I'm going to go ahead and nominate. This is probably a film I imagine Lucas seen. Maybe Malcolm. I'm going to go with a movie from 2005. Came out around Christmas time. I remember seeing it. I just remember having a big impact on me because I thought the main actor in this film, John Jarratt, was such a menacing figure on the screen. I'm talking about 2005's Wolf Creek. I'm a big fan of this film. I love the whole setup of about three backpackers getting stranded, and then this crazy Australian man just comes up and just starts killing off and torturing these guys one by one. I think John Jarratt is brilliant in this film. I think he's really menacing in this film. It spawned an awful sequel and a television show or a Netflix show or some kind of show or a TV show thereafter. But I think Greg McLean directed this film. I really enjoyed this film a lot, and I think it's one that I go back to and rewatch every Halloween time. So I'm going to go ahead and go with 2005 Wolf Creek.
All right, going on to me. Yeah, I, again, haven't seen it. Sorry, Russ. It just gives me more movies to go back and watch. Malcolm?
I actually just watched this last night.
Nice.
And it is fresh in my mind, and and it's going to be yes for me. It's just everything that Russ said is true about it. It's just creepy and scary and all that.
All right, Luca.
God, John Jarratt is so chilling in this film. He's like. He's got this sort of almost like kind of almost pleasant soft thing about him. Like when he's getting the girl from behind and he like stabs into her spine and he's like, "Oh no, don't worry, it's just your spine, It's not a problem. It's just a little pick." It's great. There's a really good atmosphere to it. I'm not sure if I personally would have had it on my 10, but it is a really great horror cinema sort of artifact, and I will put it on the list. We're gonna get something on the list now.
Okay, so Wolf Creek makes the list. I will have to check that one out tonight.
That's a good one for sure. That was in a time when they released horror movies every Christmas. Because I remember Black Christmas came out, the remake came out a couple years
Yeah.
ago. That bombshell. But yeah,
God, it was so bad.
Wolf Creek to me, man, just how menacing this character was in this film is just he's so ruthless, even up to the very end, so ruthless. And yeah, this is one I go back and I rewatch every Halloween. I really enjoy this film. I'm glad you guys put it on, and you need to check it out, Hunter.
I will tonight. That's one that's eager to watch now. All right, so going on to me, I'm going with one that is kind of out there a little bit, but it's a remake from a Japanese movie called Let the Right Ones In. This is Let Me In. It's a 2008 remake starring Chloe Grace.
Let the Right One In is a Swedish film.
Swedish film, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Luca. But this, granted, the only reason I'm not putting the original in is because I haven't seen the original yet. This is the one I have seen. But I like the connection of, this boy not really understanding what she is until he finds out, spoiler, that she's a vampire in hiding, and just all that stuff. The interaction between the main characters are really good. It's creepy. It's dark. It's got really good camera angle shots. Let Me In is on the list. Malcolm?
I've seen the original, but not the remake.
Fair enough. Luca?
I've seen the original, and I'm going to be probably suggesting the original at one point now.
Russ, it's not going to make it anyway, but...
I saw the original, not the remake, so yeah, I got to give that a no.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's good. It's not as good.
Yeah. I got to watch the original. Malcolm, back on to you.
I'm going to bring up a horror comedy from my home country. I'm going to bring up Black Sheep. This is one which I'm pretty sure Hunter's probably not seen, but it's basically it's about the sheep, which it's kind of like a werewolf movie, but instead of like wolves, it's sheep biting people and then turning other people into rare sheep. It's crazy. It's hard to explain. It's got a lot of good classic Kiwi actors. It is just a nice, crazy, fun comedy horror.
All right, we got Black Sheep. Luca?
Really fun film, really enjoyable movie. The were-sheep as a concept is not, something that's been explored a lot, but it's something that I really enjoyed. But a top 10, not quite, I think. There is another Kiwi horror comedy that should be on the list before Black Sheep. Let's put it that way.
All right, Russ?
Yeah, you know what? I got to echo kind of what Lucas said. I do appreciate them diving out of the normality of horror movies. I can appreciate that, especially when the comedic horror genre in general. The movie was okay. Again, putting it up in the top 10 best of 90s and to present, that's a huge gap to do that. I would throw it maybe in a top 50 list, but I wouldn't throw it in a top 10.
All right, and again, Malcolm, you are correct. I haven't seen it. So. Let's move on to Luca.
Suggest a movie that Hunter's seen. Scream. Scream needs to be brought up if you're going to be talking about the defining horror films of this period, because in the same way that I think films like Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street were super emblematic of the 80s, I think Scream is the horror movie that is emblematic of the 90s in a big way. It's not necessarily my personal favorite, but it's a super influential piece of horror filmmaking. It's a very witty piece of horror filmmaking. Kevin Williamson's writing is really stellar, and continues to be stellar throughout the series, except for Scream 3. It's got a really good director, obviously, in one of the all-time greats, Wes Craven. The protagonists are all kind of interesting and layered and better acted than you kind of expect from horror characters. Neve Campbell's great in it. Courtney Cox is great in it. Probably the best she's ever been. I like David Arquette's character a lot. And the Ghostface Killer is now massively iconic to the point where he's a Halloween mask that nobody kind of questions where it comes from. That ghost face mask is now so sort of tightly associated with holiday. Scream is quintessential. It's smart, it's funny, it's scary at times. It's a the start of a really fantastic series. It's also the start of some not very good trends in horror filmmaking. But Scream itself is superlative.
All right, we got Scream on the list. Russ?
That's absolutely. I remember seeing this when I was in. I was 13. I seen this in the theaters a couple times. This movie really brought the horror genre back in the mid '90s when kind of horror was kind of falling off. Wes Craven really revitalized and changed the genre of horror movies moving forward. There were a lot of movies, how kind of echo what Luca said, that kind of try to follow in, like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legends, and stuff like that, that were successful, not successful. They were good in the box office, but overall they just weren't. They couldn't stand the test of time like Scream. I think Scream was revolutionary in that aspect. Also, got to give props to Jamie Kennedy. Big fan of Randy, the movie nerd in Scream. This movie is, and it still holds up. You know, this movie is, what, you figure 22 years old, and this movie still holds up. So to me, I absolutely give this a hell yes for sure.
All right, going on to me. This Scream is the first horror movie I ever watched, and Scream is the reason I'm such a horror fan today. It's a hell yes for me. I like how it takes all the horror tropes and turns it on its head. It's, they give you the rules, which Randy, brings up, which that character is just fantastic. And they end up breaking every single one of those rules all the way from the beginning where, you see Drew Barrymore and you're like, oh, she's a big star nowadays. She's going to blast through the whole movie. She dies in the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie. That gets you set up for what's to come, which is you don't know what we're going to do, and that's where we want you. So Scream makes the list. Malcolm, what would you have said?
I actually like Scream 4 over the first Scream, but I still would have said Jess to get on this. It's the first one is still in my top 10 anyway. So
okay, awesome. Now let's move on to Russell.
Another one I think that probably Luca has seen, and maybe you guys have seen. I doubt it. I'm going to go with a French film that was actually originally rated NC-17 from 2003. I'm going to go ahead and go with High Tension. It's by director Alejandro. Is it Aja?
It's Alexandre Aja.
Okay. Who I absolutely loved his films. He directed the movie Mirrors with Kiefer Sutherland a couple years later. But anyway, this film, to me, when I saw this in the theater in 2003, I was 20. I just remember being just constantly just scared watching this film. This maniac goes after a group of two friends in the film. And it's ruthless, man. And it's gory. There's a twist there at the end of the film. Overall, I think this movie really had you on pins and had you on eggshells the whole entire time. I really enjoyed this film. I don't think it's going to get on, but I just want to show some love for 2003's High Tension.
Okay, going on to me. Yeah, I haven't seen this one, so sorry about that. Malcolm?
I've heard of it, but haven't seen it.
That's fine.
Luca?
It's a good film right up until the ending. I cannot stand the ending of this movie. I'm a big New French Extremity fan. I love French horror cinema. There are films that I might bring up later. But the ending twist of this movie completely kills it for me, just because the bait and switch I don't find interesting or particularly impactful. It sacrifices the entire logic of the movie, and I can't really get behind the film as a whole because of that. It's got some great sequences in it though. It's a fun film.
Okay, so sorry, it doesn't make the list. Russ?
That's all right. I just want to get some love out there for it because I enjoyed it when I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
And echo what Lucas said. Yeah, I agree up until the ending point because it does undermine everything that happens. But the film overall as a whole, I enjoyed.
All right, so on to me now, I believe.
Yep.
I'm going to go with one that I recently watched again, and I realized that this is a really, truly creepy movie because it deals with something that has happening now and is continuously happening, and that's The Strangers from, I believe, 2008.
Yep.
I like this movie because it's about a home invasion. That is true life. That happens. that's relatable to some people. It's always in the back of your mind of, this could happen. And when watching this movie, the one line I'll always remember is Liv Tyler is like, "Why are you doing this?" And then Dollface just goes, "Because you were home." Like, it was just a random choice, and you happen to be home that time. That is so creepy. It gives me chills every time. The performances are really good. The scares are really good, especially like, diving into like the long shots of the dark hallways, and whenever the strangers are coming by, you always see them walking like, towards the corners and everything. So yeah, I'm putting this up for nomination. Malcolm?
I don't think I've seen it. I don't remember it.
Okay. Luca?
I think it's a fun film in a lot of ways. I think that like it's got some good tension moments, and it's got like the imagery is very creepy. I like the masks, but I didn't find the film that engaging. We're actually, ironically, considering Sweeney Todd, we're actually also talking about a movie with another one of my least favorite actors. I cannot get behind Liv Tyler at all in anything. I don't think I've ever enjoyed her. And because she's the linchpin of the film, I can't connect to the film as a whole. It's got to be a no from me.
Yeah, understandable. Russ, what would you have said?
I'd have voted yeah. I enjoyed this film. Another one I saw in a theater. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, I enjoyed it. The tension you feel throughout the movie is palpable. I enjoyed it, but yeah.
Yeah, so Strangers does not make the list, but
Way better than its sequel, by the way.
Yeah.
Friday Night is.
Yeah, that was bad.
I do love the 80s. I do love the 80s theme though it was going for. I did kind of like that. That's because they were trying to obviously play out with like Stranger Things, the popularity of 80s genre in general, nostalgic. I see what they were aiming for there, but yeah, the original's definitely better.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to Malcolm.
I'm going for a movie that I think Hunter might have seen, and of course I'm going with Saw. But this was just a really fun movie, and I'd never really expected it to enjoy it as much as I do. I mean, it's one that I've actually just loved all the movies in the franchise equally. It's just, but I mean, the first Saw is probably the best out of the lot, and I mean, yes, a lot of people will call it torture porn and stuff like that. I mean, that shouldn't disqualify it from being a fun horror movie to watch. Because I mean, it's only a small cast. You're only following like a small group of characters, and just seeing just the two characters just in the bathroom with flashbacks to before is like, it's just so interesting and creepy. So yeah.
All right, I'm gonna start with this one. Yes, I have seen all the Saw movies. I like the first one, but
Uncle make it look bad.
I can't see putting it in the top 10. To me, it's good. It's just not best. Luca?
People who have seen me on other things will know that Saw is kind of my ultimate guilty pleasure franchise. It's something that I watch when I'm ill, weirdly enough, like ill and in bed, and I want to watch something. I'll either watch like Saw or like Mary Poppins.
Those are way too
exactly right. But from a quality standpoint, I'm kind of in two minds here, because on one hand, it's not like a fantastically made film. It's certainly very badly acted, and it's certainly got some problems. But like from an influence perspective, though, it's such an influential series and such an influential movie, and it started something that was so dominant. I'm going to give it a yes because of a combination of just like I have a lot of fun with it, and it's a really important film in horror history. And also, I think we're going to be in danger of getting stuck in like the 90s and like the 2010s. Because those are like the really defining periods for horror. The 2000s are definitely a slump, and I want to represent that kind of mid 2000s type era. Okay. There is a lot of good stuff there, and so is a good movie that I have a lot of fun with.
Okay, Russ.
Yeah, funny. The first time I saw this in the theater, I remember not liking it. I bought it on DVD and I watched it again. I'm like, holy shit, this movie was actually a lot better than I remembered. I was pleasantly surprised with it. Kind of echo what Lucas said. This movie is super important for the 2000s because we really didn't have big franchises. This is before big franchises came out, like in the horror genre. Like I'm saying, like newer, modern, like 2000s and forward franchises. And this movie really put. I think James Wan directed this film, the best as he could. The acting was obviously subpar, but still overall influential standpoint. Year in and year out, they put movies out every October, and it was just fun to go every October to go see the different Saw films. I'm going to give this one a yeah, just because of the fact that the longevity of the series, on top of the impact in the mid 2000s of what it did for the horror genre. It's hard to say no to this film.
All right, Saw makes the list. All right, Luca, on to you.
So I'm gonna sort of get into talking a little bit about some 2010 stuff, and I wanted, because I think that we really are in many ways in a really important renaissance for the horror genre. We've been getting stuff that's on a different level of quality to what I think we've had for years and years and years, to the point where some of the stuff is coming out now has a lot of shades of stuff from, like, the kind of the really sort of golden age stuff of the 70s, and sorry. And the film that I think is kind of at the peak of that is Robert Eggers' film The Witch, which is a story about a family who were driven out of a community in colonial New England, and into the wild, and they have to live in basically a homestead, and the sort of the paranoia of kind of devilry and witchcraft, and the idea that one of them or many of them might be witches, or might be getting lost to witches. It is a really intense film, not because it's particularly gory, or particularly loud, or particularly jump scary, but its atmosphere is so heavy, and it's so powerful, and it's got a really sort of wonderful, eerie vibe to it. The performances are incredible. The music is fantastic. The sound design is brilliant. It's one of the best looking films, I think, of the past few years, of any genre. It's gorgeous cinematographically, and compositionally. And I think that it's a really wonderful piece of horror cinema for a new age. So I'm going to bring up The Witch.
All right, we have The Witch. Russ.
I will go ahead and second that one. I like any time that they do like colonial type films, early 1600s, 1700s. It really helped put the genre back into the swing of things, because that's the whole idea of horror. Horror movie is like a roller coaster; it goes up and down, just like any other genre. The mid 2010s were the really starting to come back and try to make the horror genre relevant again with a lot of great films. I enjoyed this film. The movie was scary. It does hold the tension, everything about this whole entire film, the uneasiness of the film. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and throw out a yeah on this one for sure.
All right, going on to me. I watched this one recently, and I mean, I'm gonna give it a yes. I absolutely love this movie. Everything Luca and Russ said about what's more scary about this movie isn't the jump scares or the loud noises or whatever. It's the tone, the atmosphere, what's going on around the center character. That's what makes it creepy. That's what makes it, gives you chills and really kind of tension filled. I absolutely love this movie. This is, and as you guys said, it really ushered in this new age of, let's not make horror movies all about jump scares and, let's, flash this light at somebody, or, let's do a loud noise. Let's really make the audience care about the characters. And then that's where the scares are going to come from, is when you're invested in the characters, then whatever happens to them gets you even more freaked out. So The Witch makes the list. Malcolm, what would you have said?
I would have given it a no. I tried to watch it when it came out. I've tried to give it a rewatch. I just got really bored by it. I didn't actually get scared by it, so yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to Russ.
Oh boy, I got a couple here. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to go like early 90s, mid 2000s. Boy, I'm gonna throw this one on. This one will probably get axed, but I want to show it love. It's from 1990. Very notorious film, no pun intended. Kathy Bates, James Caan, probably one of my favorite Stephen King films. I'm talking about Misery. This film here encapsulates really the horror genre to me. I really appreciate the direction James Caan and even Rob Reiner, the director of the film. To me, it's about a super fan that goes crazy, has a author in her house where she starts to go crazy as she's kind of like wanting him to finish this book series, Misery Child, that he has been writing, and she goes crazy. The film, to me, stands the test of time. I have always enjoyed this film. It was like I said, it's one of my favorite Stephen King movies. And it just has good performances from James Caan, Kathy Bates. And like I said, it was directed beautifully by Rob Reiner. So I'm going to go ahead and throw out 1990 Misery for this one.
All right, going on to me. This is my third favorite Stephen King movie. I absolutely love Misery. Just the fact that it pretty much takes place in one location, which is the cabin with Kathy Bates and James Caan. And the fact that the stuff that Kathy Bates does to his character is, especially like putting his leg in the splint and hitting
the hobbling.
Oh, like that scene gets me every single time I watch it. The performances are great. This movie again shows that you don't need a lot of jump scares. You don't need a lot of action, a lot of anything going on, but just the tension feel to being in one location, and what happens when fandom goes to that extra level of being stalkery, scary type of individuals that we know are out there. So it's going to be a yes for me. Malcolm?
Misery's not in my top 10 Stephen King adaptations.
Wow.
But it is one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations that fit into this period. A lot of my favorite adaptations are before 1990, so we wouldn't be able to nominate them. So I'm going to say yes to it.
Okay, so Misery makes the list. Luca, what would you have said?
It's weirdly enough, it's also my third favorite Stephen King adaptation. Number one is The Shining. Number two is The Dead Zone. Yes,
I didn't have The Dead Zone, but that's a good one too.
It's a really great film. Kathy Bates is fantastic in it. Again, the creepy thing is just how pleasant she is sometimes, and how sweet and nice she is. And it's just like, oh, you could go nuts at any second.
Yeah,
it's a great film. I probably would have given it a yes.
What's funny is
weirdly, like, it's not. I don't consider it to be horror, like, necessarily in the typical way. Like, it's kind of a thriller.
Yeah, it's more that
there is a lot of horror in it. It's like the horror of isolation, the horror of like not knowing what kind of person this is, the horror of like being at the mercy of someone who is so obsessed with your work and wants it to be what they want it to be all the time. Great film.
Yeah. What's funny is I always think of the Family Guy parody of Misery when I see this with Stewie in like the wig and stuff.
I always like, and the other part about it kind of echo just a little bit more about the movie, how unsettling it is when James Caan's character is actually researching scrapbooks of Kathy Bates being a nurse, and all these malpracticing things that were going on top of it. Just adds a lot of unsettling feeling to that whole idea of cabin fever and being isolated, alone from civilization and stuff like that. And it's very a claustrophobic feeling. And that's, like I said, to me, this is one just I can always revisit it. I really enjoy the film. Good performances all around. Obviously, it got Kathy Bates an Oscar nomination or an Academy Award. The movie I just really enjoyed. I'm glad everybody threw it on the list.
Oh yeah, it's definitely deserving. So on to me. I'm going with one that is kind of the reason why we're doing this list, and it's from that Conjuring universe, of course. And I'm going with The Conjuring 2. The Conjuring 2.
I like that left turn.
That was a hard left, man.
It's a really fucking good movie. I absolutely enjoy this movie. It, of course, takes place during the I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this wrong. Enfield Poltergeist is the name of the case or whatever. And of course, Ed and Lorraine Warren come back. It takes place in England. Everything about the first one, which hopefully we'll get to later on, because I love the first one as well. They up in the second one. I feel like you care more about this family because you understand where they're coming from, and then when everything slowly starts to happen to them with the poltergeist, everything like that, you really start believing what's happening and caring about the family. And then just the performances are great, the horrors are great, the camera pannings down and following whatever it is. You find out the end. It's The Nun, which is setting up for this. But I absolutely love this movie. So yeah, that's why I'm putting it as my nomination. Malcolm?
I haven't seen the Conjuring series yet. So they're on my list of must-watches, but haven't got around to them.
Wow, that's impressive.
Luca is going to say no, aren't you?
I am. There are only 5 spots left, and just like it's just a testament to like thinking through my head of all the films that I'm thinking that just haven't been mentioned that like will get mentioned at some point and are like massively iconic, super important pieces of cinema. And then all of the stuff that I really like, it's just like I don't think that there's a spot for a film in the Conjuring franchise. The thing is, they're good movies. There are great movies that are not on the list yet.
Okay. And then Russ, what would you have said?
I just said no to kind of echo what Lucas said. It just kind of piggybacked on the ideas of The Conjuring, the first setup for it, and just kind of wrote it out. The first Conjuring I thought was better. Again, yeah, it's a top 10 list, and if we're doing top 25 lists, top 50, I mean, we could branch out and have more variety. I get it, but when we're focusing in on from 1990 to present, that's a whole entire almost 30 years of film. It's really. Yeah, it's really hard to throw that one on the list. So I would have given it a big no. Sorry.
Probably one of the top 10 horror franchises of the period.
Oh yeah, without doubt.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm just glad that
individual films do not. This franchise is stronger than some of its parts, even though Annabelle.
I'm just glad that no one has said Annabelle yet, because I would have left.
I like Creation. I like Annabelle Creation. I maybe like Annabelle Creation more than I like The Conjuring 2.
No, first Annabelle.
Oh, come on. All right, Malcolm, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go with another New Zealand horror comedy. This one spawned a spin-off TV series in New Zealand. Oh, yeah. It's What We Did in the Shadows, directed by the great Taika Waititi. This one is just a different take on horror movies, and they've done it in a way that's mockumentary. You follow the lives of 3 vampires, and it's just so crazy. Like, it's so iconic. I'm pretty sure they're doing a TV series in America based on it, but without the original cast. So I don't know how that's going to work. So, but they just also did a spin-off TV series in New Zealand called Wellington Paranormal. I don't know if it's out overseas yet, but if it does, you should check it out. So,
all right, Luca.
I'm so frustrated. You didn't name the film that I thought you were going to name when you said New Zealand horror comedy. The second you mentioned 2 New Zealand horror comedies, and neither of them are the right one.
No, I'm curious though, which one are you talking about there?
We'll actually get to it next because I'm like, well, I got to mention this myself now. My issue with What We Do. Okay, so to get this out of the way. Fun film. Taika Waititi is good in it. Jermaine Clement is good in it. The film as a whole is very funny. It's enjoyable. It's a nice mockumentary. There's no horror actually in it. It's not a horror film. It's a comedy that happens to take like horror elements, right? Like Young Frankenstein is not a horror movie. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is not a horror movie. It's a very funny film, very good mockumentary. I wouldn't put it on.
All right, Russ.
Just because it's not a horror film.
Kind of echo what Lucas said. Yeah, it shades more comedic than horror. So yeah, I'm gonna give that a no.
And I haven't seen it, so let's go on to Luca.
The third New Zealand horror comedy to be mentioned,
go.
My favorite of the apparently very wide subgenre of horror comedies made in New Zealand, from I think 1992, made by one of the biggest directors of all time now, Peter Jackson. We're talking Braindead. Braindead is a wonderful film. about an infection that breaks out when a rat monkey bites a guy, and he gets this infection, which is this like flesh rotting thing, and everyone starts turning into zombies. And it's one of the bloodiest and goriest movies I've ever seen, and it's so joyful. There is so much blood and so much gore and so many like really great body horror effects all over the place. There's a great scene in a club where the main character, played by Timothy Chalamet, takes a lawnmower to just like a room full of zombies, and you see it from behind the lawnmower, and there are legs flying everywhere. It's just like raining blood. It's a brilliant, fun time. So yeah, Peter Jackson's Brain Dead.
All right, Brain Dead. Russ?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say yeah on that one. It was a fresh film in the early '90s. Good performances from Pullman and Bill Paxton. Yeah, it was a fun film. Yeah, a lot of gore. The gore factor from the early '90s, or it was actually 1990. Yeah, I'll throw this one on the list to give a little change up in the top 10.
All right. Again, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a lot of outside horror movies, but I'll definitely have to check those out. Malcolm?
Yeah, I completely forgot this was out in the 90s. I thought it was in the 80s, but yeah, so it's a yes for me. I mean, I'll be a bad New Zealander if I said no to it. So,
Russell, did you say Bill Paxton and Bill Pullman?
Yeah, wasn't Bill Paxton in the film?
I've realized the issue. Brain Dead was released in the U.S. as Dead Alive.
Dead Alive, yeah.
Okay, okay, hold on. Okay, so what was it called? Dead Alive.
Dead Alive.
Let me see here. Let me see if I remember saying this film. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Dead Alive. Okay, yeah. 92. Okay. Oh man, his mother's been. That's right, by the rat monkey. Okay, yeah. I did see this film. Peter Jackson. Yeah, it's been a while. I'll throw it on there though. I was thinking of the other one with Bill Paxton and Bill Pullman.
Gets his like face taken off. Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
Okay, so is this one Brain Dead or Dead Alive, or does it matter?
It's known as both.
Okay, so let's just keep it the same. It's fine. All right, so Brain Dead makes the list. Let's move on to Russ.
Let me go. I'm gonna go ahead and get this one out before. There's so many. Let me go with. You know what? I'm gonna go with a remake. This is probably gonna get shot down, but I'm gonna throw this out one. I rewatched it again. It's a remake of a classic. I'm going to go ahead and go with 1991's Cape Fear. When you think of iconic Robert De Niro performances, Max Cady, I think is very iconic. The fact that he is just so hell-bent set on trying to make life a living hell for Nick Nolte and Jessica Lange and Juliette Lewis and their family. He's ruthless in his whole entire film. We really see the sick, sadistic side of Robert De Niro in this film, how crazy he can get. We've seen it obviously previously with Taxi Driver and other films like that. But to come back up to remake a classic film with Gregory Peck, I believe, and Robert Mitchum that were in the film, 1991. I'm going to go ahead and go with Cape Fear. I really enjoyed this film. The rewatchability of this one is high on my list too. And on top of it, I just think De Niro delivers solid performance as only De Niro can do.
All right, Luca.
It's the basis for one of my favorite Simpsons episodes and a remake of one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
That show, Bob.
Scorsese is an excellent filmmaker, and De Niro is great in this. And some of the scenes with him and Juliette Lewis are genuinely chilling. However, it is really coming to the point where it's like crunch time because it's like 4 films left. And I would tend to go back to the Gregory Peck, Robert Mitchum Cape Fear before I would go back to the Scorsese Cape Fear. So basically, just on that basis, I'm going to give that a no. Although I do like the movie a lot.
That works with me then.
Malcolm?
Yeah, I'm with Luke. I liked the original over the Robert De Niro one. It wasn't the remake that I thought Russell was going to say, but yeah.
Sorry, Russ, go ahead.
I'm sure there's one on there. I got a couple of remakes on here, so I'm sure.
I do too.
I'm saving this other one. I like this one, so I'm gonna save it for later.
And I've only seen bits and pieces of this. I haven't watched it fully though, but
it's yeah.
All right,
Scorsese and De Niro for sure.
All right, so it's on to me. Yes. All right, I'm gonna go with. Let me look this up real quick so I can see the official date. We're live, folks, but that's what we do here. I'm going with 1991's Silence of the Lambs.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, just for the basis of the incredible performance of Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, you've got Buffalo Bill, you've got just the movie is creepy and just gets underneath your skin, and like Anthony Hopkins plays just the perfect like psycho killer who's going to talk real soft. He's not going to yell, scream. He's not going to get angry. He's going to talk to you real soft. But in that case, it makes it even more creepy because you know he's talking directly to the audience. This movie is just fantastic. I keep going back and rewatching it. One of my favorite horror movies. So yeah, Silence of the Lambs. Malcolm?
Yes. Nothing more to say about it.
Luca?
No. Nothing more to say about it.
Ah, really?
Yeah, I'm not. So I think that it's a little bit melodramatic and a little bit too clean for me. I don't like Buffalo Bill as a character. I don't like the way he's portrayed. Demi's a great director. Foster and Hopkins are great. I don't think that the film surrounding them has aged very well. I'm sorry.
Agree to disagree.
I like
but
Manhunter
Russ,
more.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it on. I like the psychological thriller aspect of it. It does move a little bit slower. It's not one of those in-your-face, scary horror movies. It's more of a psychological thriller. But it's iconic. Performances Foster and Anthony Hopkins give nothing short of amazing. I like the way Jonathan Demme directed the film. I'm going to go ahead and I'll throw it on.
Woo, okay, I finally got one on there. Let's move on to Malcolm.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up another remake. This one is from 2006, I believe. This is the Omen. It was stylized as Omen 666.
That's the release date. That was the release date of it, June 6th.
Yeah, June 6th, 06.
Yeah. But yeah, this one is one that as soon as I saw it was probably one of the first remakes that I tried to watch. It's like, this is just as good, if not slightly better than the original one. I can't actually remember who was in it. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Schreiber, Julia Stiles, Mia Farrow's in it,
yeah,
David Thewlis, Pete Postlethwaite is in it too. I think Michael
Yeah,
Caine is in
Luca?
it.
But yeah, I mean, it's a really great movie. It's just one that they keep that tension still alive. It's just, and I mean, in the 2000s, there's a few other devil kind of movies out there. There was Exorcism of Emily Rose out there. I think there was an Exorcist sequel or something, maybe. I don't know. But there's so many demon ones around that time that I think this one is the best out of those ones.
All right, so we have the Omen. Luca.
As much as I love seeing Giovanni Lombardo Radice in this movie because he's one of my favorite schlock actors from exploitation films from the 80s, I got to give this one a no. I don't like any of the Omen movies. I think the first one is kind of okay. It's got that great scene where the guy gets his head cut off by the sheet glass. But I've never found an Omen movie to be particularly scary or tense, and this is no different. I can't really connect to Lee Schreiber and Julia Stiles as the Thorns. Seamus Davy Fitzpatrick is like very traditional creepy kid. I like David Thewlis in it though. But overall, it's not my kind of movie.
Russ?
Yeah, I'm gonna go no too. I have another exorcism movie that I enjoyed more. I did think the Omen remake was all right. It was subpar with the original. But overall, to put it up with 3 more spots left, I can't throw it up on her.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same boat. I actually enjoyed the Omen remake for what it was. As someone who hasn't watched the original, but with 3 spots left, I just can't see putting that on there. All right, so let's move on to Luca.
This is where it gets tricky. There's some sort of 2010 stuff that I want to bring up. There's some stuff from the 1990s that I want to bring up.
This list was very hard to do, by the way.
I
Yeah,
think I got
comment.
one of each, Luca. I got some from the 90s, some from 2000, some from 2010s.
I'm going to go ahead. So I think that we've got probably the two most iconic horror films of the 1990s on here now. We've got Scream and we've got Silence. But there's like a third kind of slightly redheaded stepchild. You know, sort of, I would describe as the black sheep of the 90s horror films, and it's a film based on a Clive Barker book. And Clive Barker is a storyteller that I absolutely love. He does great sort of mystical stories about like temptation and the boundaries between pleasure and pain and how we think about fear. And I rewatched this film recently, and Hellraiser used to be my favorite Clive Barker-based film. It has been supplanted by Candyman, which is a really excellent, really like almost mystical, dreamlike piece of filmmaking. It's got a great central performance by an actress who I'm completely blanking on the name of, which is what's her name?
Virginia Madsen.
Virginia Madsen. Tony Todd as the titular Candyman is just bone chilling. And the film as a whole is a really sort of there's beauty in it, there's pain in it. It's a lot of it is just the story of this woman seemingly spiraling into insanity, but then the ending sort of makes a really great twist with it, and it sort of brings it all back around, and it's thematically resonant. The score by Philip Glass is one of my favorite movie scores of all time. It is a brilliant film.
All right, so we have Candyman. Russ?
I'll throw it on, sure. Kind of echo what you said. Yeah, when you think of movies of the 90s, horror movies, it is hard to get left behind. I mean, or it's actually easy to get left behind when you have big titles like, you know, you have Scream, you have Silence of the Lambs, and people forget that the early 90s, Candyman was actually right after Silence of the Lambs. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and throw that out there. I like that. It's always a good Halloween film.
All right, Malcolm?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I haven't seen enough to put it on the list.
All right, going on to me. I have seen this movie. It's been a little bit, if I'm being honest. You know what? Screw it. I like the movie. I'm putting it on the list. So Candyman makes the list. All right, let's go on to Russ.
This is going to get shot down, but this was we were talking about mid-2010s. I'm going to go ahead and go with a film from 2014. I'm going to go with It Follows. I just like the whole entire premise of the film. I like something that was completely different outside the box. It wasn't your typical serial killer. It was a sexual intercourse was the killer in this film. And I like the fresh direction that it went. It didn't go from the typical, you know, there is a mass murderer trying to kill teenagers. It is everybody actually is kind of doing it to themselves. It's more self-induced. I like this film a lot, and I think it really helped, again, with that revitalization of the mid-2010 horror movie. I'm going to throw It Follows up.
Russ, I was going to throw that one up right after you. So it's a yes for me. I watched this movie, like, I think a year after it came out, and I was like, you know, when I watched this is a very different style of a horror movie. You know, it's got a different feel, harkening back to, you know, 70s, 80s type. It's, you know, kind of funny in a way, but yet it's still very terrifying and creepy. And, you know, just everything about it. I absolutely enjoy this movie, so it's a yes for me. Malcolm?
Haven't seen it.
Luca?
It's a really, really, really tricky one.
It is.
So my thought process is that it's a very tense film, and I enjoyed it a lot. And it was one of the earlier ones in this sort of renaissance. It's 2014. It's got some great performances in it, but there are other ones from the kind of recent era that resonate with me more. And we only have 2 slots left, and I think probably only one of them is going to be taken up by something that's from the sort of super recent era. So I'm going to have to say no on that one. I do like the film a lot.
To me, the reason why I threw up was just the originality of the film. It was something completely different outside the box, and I appreciated that. And on top of it, it was one of those ones where, you know, you didn't see you obviously couldn't see the killer, and that's the scary part because it was there. Like I said, I really enjoyed this film.
Okay, going on to me. So since I had to change my pick, the one I'm going with is a remake. And I'm wearing it on my shirt right here. The Hello to Pennywise. It's 2017's It. One, I put this as my favorite movie of 2017. Just the original, like taking the characters of Pennywise and the crew and stuff like that, and really, like the miniseries tried to do too much by going what the book did, which was switching in between adults and kids. But this one, you focus on the kids and what they're afraid of. And in reality, when you watch this movie, you care about the kids. So when Pennywise does show up and does kind of freak them out and does chase after them, you want those kids to survive. You like them. There's one kid that you can relate to more than the others, but just this whole movie was just fantastic. Cannot wait for Chapter 2 to come out, and what a way to kick off with such a great telling of the It story. Malcolm?
Yeah, I mean, this was a surprise to me. It's like, and I mean, for me, it actually really annoys me when people refer to this as a remake, because yes, it technically is a remake, but it's more of a new adaptation of the Stephen King book than anything. So I mean, over this discussion, when anything, a new book gets adapted, a book that's already been adapted, a movie gets adapted again. But yeah, that's only minor. But it's a good movie. It's like Bill Skarsgård was great as Pennywise, and I'm pretty sure he appeared in Castle Rock as a different character, but that's TV series. But yeah, but this is really great. It's just one that I didn't expect much from, but I watched it and I just really enjoyed it. So it's a yes for me.
All right, Luca.
I saw this in the cinemas. I had an absolute blast with it. It was a really, really fun film. I really enjoyed it. I was not excited to see it because I didn't like the miniseries and I don't like the book.
Yeah.
And I was really, really impressed by the film. I then got it on Blu-ray and I watched it again. And I think that while it is a good film, no question, it's a good movie. I think that I kind of my feelings about it the first time I saw it were actually kind of inflated by the fact that I wasn't a fan of the book or the miniseries before it. I saw it again and I was like, oh, this is good. But I didn't have that same like, wow, cool sort of, rush that I had when I first saw it. I haven't seen it more than twice. And I think it has some elements of a film that I would kind of go back to again and again and again. But it's just not quite there for me. There's something about it that doesn't click. Maybe when the chapter part 2 comes out, it'll feel more complete and I'll want to go back to them both at the same time. But it's not one of those horror films that I could see myself breaking out to watch every Halloween, for example, which is kind of how I think of things. Like, do I want to watch this every Halloween for the rest of my life? And I just don't.
Yeah, I understand that. Russ?
Yeah, I did enjoy the film. I saw it when it came out. I have it on Blu-ray. I haven't really actually revisited it yet. It's still sort of new, you know what I mean, within the last year. I did appreciate the direction it went. It was obviously way better than a 1990 miniseries.
Yeah.
To me, I really enjoyed the scare factors in the film, but to me, I wasn't just like overblown like a lot of other people were with this film. Rewatchability is there. Like I said, I just haven't rewatched it, but it is there. It's something I would absolutely revisit. There's just so many movies in general. I can't put it on the list. I did have it on the top 10 honorable mention for 2017 on my channel. But to me, I can't throw it up on there.
Yeah. And the reason, like, again, I've saw this like 3 times in the theaters and then I own it on Blu-ray. So I keep rewatching it. So that's where the rewatchability comes from me at least, that I can come back and kind of notice something new each time I rewatch it.
Well, that's the beauty about cinema. Cinema is so subjective like that. You find things. I can go back and rewatch something. I've seen Ghostbusters probably 100 times, and I can go back and find something different that I didn't see from the film and appreciate it. So that's the whole idea, and especially when you have such wide age demographics as, from us. We all have different loves and likes in film, and that's the beauty about having a like a diverse panel like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I mean, we'll eventually get 10. I'm not worried about that. We'll
Yeah.
We'll get 10.
All right, let's move on to Malcolm.
I did have one in my mind. It just gone out of my head. That's why I'm going to go for the other one from 2017, which I think belongs here, and that's Get Out. This is a surprise from Jordan Peele's. Like, no one expected a really big horror movie like that to sort of come from a comedy writer and director. It's one of the first horror movies of recent times that actually has been nominated for Best Picture again. Because I can't remember what the last horror movie before Get Out that was actually nominated for Best Picture. So this was one that. Yeah, this was one that no one saw coming, and a lot of people loved it. And even the cultural facts to it, which to it as well, is enough to sort of put it up for me. So,
okay, so we have Get Out. I'm going next. This was my second favorite movie of 2017. As you guys can tell, like, I had a great 2017 horror wise. I absolutely love Get Out. I rewatched it multiple times, and what's cool about this movie is it doesn't have the traditional horror movie tropes in it that you come to expect from certain horror movies. It kind of takes it in a new direction, adds great social commentary to it. The performances are great. Jordan Peele directs the hell out of this movie. It's a yes for me. All right, Luca.
I'll maintain that this is probably one of the most important movies of the decade so far, just in terms of like the cultural conversation, both about its topics and about horror cinema as a sort of cultural area. Jordan Peele, it's kind of a shocker to have a comedy writer and comedy director direct and write such a at times tense and chilling film, but it makes a lot of
Especially
sense.
for
very witty, very witty, very smart, very sharply written movie. And Key and Peele have always been very sort of witty, smart, sharply written shows. Daniel Kaluuya is excellent in it. I think that it's tense and it's funny and it's poignant and it's yes for me.
Okay, so Get Out makes the list. Russ, what would you have said?
Yeah, I would have said yeah, especially good social commentary too of what's prevalent nowadays and just in general with racism and stuff like that. I think the movie is important. It's ahead of its time, and it isn't. And it is shifting the way movies are made now. You know what I mean? Within the thriller, horror genre and stuff like that. With that film, it's a very important landmark film. We'll look back at this 10, 20 years from now and say that was a turning point of film in that and that retrospective thing. So yeah, I would have said yeah for this one.
All right, so let's move on to Luca. We have one spot remaining.
One spot, and I have a feeling whatever I suggest is not going to make it on. So I'm just going to say what the hell and suggest a film that I really love, which is it's another one from the 2010s. It's from 2015, and funnily enough, we went from the sort of quite smart, witty, sort of satirical social commentary of Get Out, where the issue is played with like wittily but sensibly, to a film that's just like, well, Nazis are dicks. That is Jeremy Saulnier's Green Room, which is one of my favorite films about killing Nazis. It follows a punk band, which if you know me from like Jukebox Trivia and stuff like that on Worldwide Movie Games, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of. So it connects with me on that way. They are given a gig in a basically a skinhead bar for neo-Nazi far-right types. And they get trapped in the green room where a girl is being murdered. And basically, the owner and clientele of the bar need to get rid of these punks. And the band needs to get out of the green room. It's a great film. It's tense. It's exciting. It's got some great performances from Anton Yelchin and Patrick Stewart, who is great, and you never expect him to be this kind of sort of like chilling. But what I like most about it is like the punk ethos and the fact that it's essentially about how fucking awful Nazis are.
All right, so Green Room, Russ.
I love you, Luca, but I can't. To me, when I saw this, I love Anton Yelchin. I really think what a tragedy that is that we're not going to see him in any more films, because he's such a good actor. Ever since I saw him in Alpha Dog, I really just love what he brought to the table, acting, and even in the new Star Trek. Get back on topic here though, because I can ramble. Green Room, when I first saw it, I remember seeing it. I got it at a video store. I think it was like $5.99 was a used copy of it, and I couldn't get into it. Maybe it was one of those ones I need to revisit. I don't shut the door on movies that I don't like, because I mean I was the same way with Saw. I need to revisit this one, but I remember the first time seeing it. It's the only time I saw it, and I wasn't impressed with it. So that's a no for me. But I definitely will. I definitely want to revisit that film though, for sure.
Okay, and I haven't seen it personally, so Malcolm.
Yeah, I need to revisit it too, because I've already seen it once and I didn't like it as well. But Patrick Stewart as a villain is really interesting.
All right, so Green Room didn't make the list. Russ, go ahead.
I'm throwing this one out just for shits and giggles, because I still think it was kind of important. I mean, it is an iconic film. I don't know if it's not like, oh my God, scary, but I'm going to go with M. Night Shyamalan, 1999, Sixth Sense. To me, with the whole twist ending and stuff like that, the things you did not see coming in the film, and then you rewatch it knowing what you know, and it still makes sense. It still holds up, and it really brought M. Night Shyamalan into the mainstream. You know, he knocked it out of the park after with Unbreakable, The Village not so much, and then went off on a kind of like a tangent of bad movies. The Visit got him back into it. Split really catapulted his career. Now he's back into the limelight, which I love, because he's such a really great storyteller, and I love his filmmaking. But this movie is just so iconic. You know, you have little performances from Donnie Wahlberg, Misha Barton. You know, you just have a lot of good, solid performances. I think, Bruce Willis in this film's terrific too. And to me, I really think that this movie still stands the test of time. I appreciate the twist ending that this movie has. And to me, it's just an iconic film. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this out, not expecting it to get on a list, but I'm going to go ahead and throw out 1999 to Sixth Sense.
Okay. I watched this movie twice, once, knowing what the twist was going to be, and then second time rewatching it to see what changes about the twist, when you find out what the twist is, and then you go back and watch the movie. I didn't like this movie. I thought it was really boring up until the end. That's just me. I mean, I was kind of bored, like real slow paced movie, which is not bad, but I just couldn't get into it. So that's gonna be a no for me. Malcolm?
Yeah, I love this one. This is tough because I'm torn between this and Split, but I don't think it's going to get back to me, so I'll say yes to this.
Luca?
This is a tricky one. I consider The Sixth Sense to be a bunch of great scenes strung together by a plot that I can't fully get into. Some of the scenes in it are just fantastic. The scene with the girl in the blanket fort, the ghost girl in the blanket fort, is great. The twist is great. Haley Joel Osment is a really one of my favorite child performances in a film. He's very believable and very vulnerable and very sympathetic. But as a whole, I can't really get into it. It's not something that I've ever dived into hook, line, and sinker, I suppose.
Okay, so I'm taking
no.
We're gonna be here for a while.
Hopefully, I can break this one. I don't think so, but it's on to me. I'm going with one that keep your tension high through the entire movie. It's, I think, a very good movie. It came out in 2016, and it's Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe is one of those movies that that it starts off and you understand the characters, you understand what they're going through. Then they break into the house of Stephen Lang, and that's when the movie really picks up for me. It keeps your, as before, keeps your anxiety high. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where he's going to show up from. You don't know what's going on. And then that twist at the end. Just this whole movie I felt was really, really, really good. Some might not, but I absolutely enjoyed it. So don't breathe. Malcolm?
I enjoyed it, but I think it's just out of the top 10 for me, so no.
All right. And then Luca's going to say no also because of his reaction.
I'm going to say I don't like this film. I think it's okay. I think that it's tense at times, but the thing about this one in particular is I think it relies quite heavily on like being sympathetic towards the characters, like the protagonists, and I'm just not. I didn't get attached to their performances, so I didn't get attached to their characters. So yeah, just can't really.
All right, Russ?
I enjoyed it. It was on the list of I have 30 films on it. I just scratched it out. I've been madly scratching out here, if you can see.
Same.
I'd have voted. Yeah, why not? I did enjoy the film. Top 10. Top 10, maybe not. I maybe top 20. But I did enjoy the film, and I thought Stephen Lang was badass in the film. But
He's awesome.
But yeah.
All right, so let's go on to Malcolm.
Well, I mean, I already spoiled what I was going to go for, but I'm going to go for Split. This is one which helped put M. Night back on the path to greatness. I mean, it started with The Visit, then it just moved on up there. I mean, Blumhouse did this, wasn't it?
Yes.
As well. Yeah, and I mean, M. Night's shown that now that he's teamed with Blumhouse, he hasn't done anything wrong when it comes to his movies. This one was a fun movie to watch. With Anya Taylor-Joy from The Witch, I can't remember who else was and James McAvoy. I mean, James McAvoy was what's kind of sold it for me. Is as the villain, he's just shown that he can be crazy and then act all natural and normal at the same time without giving his attentions away. So Split is on the list.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Going to me, I had this on my list. I absolutely enjoyed this movie. After The Last Airbender, I was I'm completely done with M. Night Shyamalan because he fucked that movie up. But going into Split, I was like, okay, I'll give this a chance. I heard it was pretty good, and wow, was I genuinely surprised at this movie, how much I enjoyed it. And it all comes down to James McAvoy being able to play pretty much 24 different characters that don't feel the same. He could be, crazy. He could be a kid. He could be the Beast. He could be multiple characters and makes them come out naturally. It doesn't feel like it's very choppy where he does it. It all comes together real smooth. So yeah, it's gonna be a yes for me. I absolutely love this movie. Luca?
It's gonna be a no for me. I prefer The Sixth Sense to this movie, and I didn't put Sixth Sense on the list. I don't like Franco in this film. I think he's a little bit muggy and scenery chewing. I think that I actually prefer The Visit to this film as well, which I know is kind of controversial. I'm just not a huge fan of it.
All right, Russ?
I do like the movie. However, I really don't associate this with horror movie. I guess I don't know. It's more of a thrill. I don't know. To me, if I was going to put an M. Night Shyamalan one on, I was going to put Sixth Sense on. I did like Split a lot though, so I'm going to go no on this one. Though I did love the movie. I'm not taking anything away from the movie, and I'm glad that M. Night Shyamalan's back. But to me, I just overall as a whole, I just can't put it on there.
Okay, let's go on to Luca. We're gonna be here forever.
Is it my suggestion?
Part of me just wanted to say to get it over with, so we had 10.
There's kind of the temptation is certainly there. Oh, wait, hold on a second. No, I know. So I tried to get a Japanese film on right at the start of this, and that one wasn't necessarily so widely seen. Um, I'm gonna have a go at doing that again. And while I'm a big fan of Ju on the Grudge, um, the the one that I think is the most iconic and probably like from a technical perspective the best is Hideo Nakata's Ringu or Ring. Obviously, it was remade by Gore Verbinski in 2006 as The Ring. Um, it is a really creepy, chilling movie that
All right,
deals with
so Luca, for
for the 1998 Japanese,
okay,
like the
Japan,
1998 Japanese movie.
that's when you go.
Um,
Okay,
I think that it's a little bit sort of raw and punchy than the Verbinski remake. I think it's more creepy, has a better atmosphere to it. I think it's a really interesting concept, and especially in the 90s, this kind of idea of like technophobia is really big in Japanese culture. And I think that it is sort of very emblematic of that. I think the Sadako character, who was eventually transformed into Samara, a very sort of tragic figure. And the film just hits in a way that a lot of American horror films don't for me. It's got a really sort of kind of alien strangeness to it that I enjoy, and it's just a really good, great piece of filmmaking.
okay, Russ.
Though I like this one, I like the remake better. Call Me Crazy. I'll
You're
give it to
crazy.
you, though. I'll say, yeah, I do like Gore Verbinski's direction. I just like, I remember seeing it in movies and being like completely like I saw the remake before I saw the original. And maybe that's why it stays in my head more, just because of the fact that I saw it before the original one. So I'm kind of comparing, you know what I mean? How we do that sometimes. To me, though, I really do. I love the original concept of things. You know, a VCR tape to, you know, and then you have 7 days to live, and it's just entity coming out of a well and stuff like that. It's creepy, it's unsettling, and I do appreciate that. So I'll throw it on the list.
Malcolm.
Yeah, I'm going to join Russell on the crazy train, and I actually like the remake better than the original as well. But yeah, I'm going to say no to this.
Okay, and I've seen the remake. I have not seen the Japanese one yet.
See, I could have got you guys on board for O2.
So that does not.
As long as you didn't say the recent rings, I would have been disappointed about that.
Yeah.
Maliki from Big Bang Theory. That movie was trash.
It is. All right, Russ, go ahead.
All right. Another shits and giggle one. Why not? Another 1999 film. Why not? It was one of the biggest independent films. Handheld shot video. I'm going to go ahead and go with Blair Witch Project from 1999. The originality of it, to me, at the time, I was 15, 16 years old seeing this film, and this movie just was the whole unsettling idea that you don't see this entity ever. And that's what it plays on. It plays on that suspense, that the friction that you feel inside your body. And I think that whole tension that you feel throughout the whole entire film is what really made Blair Witch Project such a big film in 1999. Because I remember that movie blew up, and it was, like I said, it was one of the biggest independent films ever. I think the budget was real short and ended up making buku bucks. But yeah, I'm going to throw that on there just because of the fact I think it was original in its storytelling. The acting was far from great. I'm not putting it on there as this movie should be like a Citizen Kane of handheld videos. But I do think that the film was benchmark in its own right. So I'll throw that out there. I'm going to go 1999 Blair Witch. Way better than the shit show a couple years ago that they redid.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Luca?
I don't like the Blair Witch Project, but it's a genius idea. It's an incredible idea for a film. It's an incredible idea for like a concept of like how to make a film scary in as minimal a way as possible, and obviously made for very, very cheap. One of the most profitable movies of all time in terms of like percentage return, and I think that's for a reason. Incredibly well marketed, incredibly influential. I never found it scary and I never connected with it, but I think just from an importance perspective and just from like the guys making this were evil geniuses perspective, I'm gonna say yes.
Can I throw a sidebar on that one real fast? I just want to put a little
go ahead.
to blow your guys' mind. Okay, the budget for this film was $60,000. Okay, opening weekend it grossed $29 million. And it went on to make $248 million with a $60,000 budget. So just factor that in for a second.
That's crazy.
That's mine.
I'm going next. I don't like this movie. I didn't find it scary. I didn't find it entertaining at all. It's gonna be a no for me. I just can't.
See, I think it's different seeing it in the theater as opposed to VHS or DVD. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that, but just like
seeing this film was completely
and the
different.
fact that it took the found footage movies and that was just all of them except for like the first Paranormal Activity, I thought were horrendous. It started the trend that
found footage film was actually like way older than that. Cannibal Holocaust is a found footage movie, and then there's like,
more mainstream.
Yeah, more mainstream.
I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a no for me. Malcolm.
Yeah, when it comes to found footage horror movies, there's one that I think is better done. That I think Luca might know I'm getting it, and if it gets back to me, I'm nominating it. But yeah, it's a no from me.
You guys suck.
It's going to get back to you about 4 or 5 times, maybe, Malcolm.
Yeah, it is.
Fuck, my list is going to be... I'm not going to have a list, so this will be fun.
I literally have 2 left.
I'm like, son of a bitch.
I have 2 left. I'm going with one.
I got about 8 on here, so I'm good for a little bit.
I'm going with one that I don't think can make the list, but it is one of my favorite movies of 2018 so far, and that's A Quiet Place. I love the idea of they can tell a complete story where you care about the characters, you care about the family with almost no words, no dialogue. It really shows what you can do without saying any words. I mean, the aliens' designs are creepy and just horrible looking. The action is really good. The family dynamic is what really carries this movie. So yeah, I'm going A Quiet Place. I don't expect to make it, but if it does, that would be amazing. Malcolm?
I missed it when it came out in New Zealand. Ben, still haven't seen it yet.
Watch it, Malcolm. It's really good. Luca?
I think it's not had the time to settle down and for me to like take it in the grand scheme of things. I think that there is a film from 2018 that I think is a little bit better than it.
I know where you're going with that.
I think it's Hereditary, but it's much more recent, and that is definitely not had enough time to like settle down and sort of firmly cement itself. I like the film a lot, but I think we need to like give some respect to films that have had a little bit of time to like sort of settle and for us to really get a sense of them.
Yeah. All right, and Russ, what would you have said?
Yeah, though I like the film. I didn't like it as much as other people did. I appreciate the fact that the movie's told through emotions and body language and stuff like that. I appreciate the way Krasinski did that. But to me, I hate that payoff about 3/4. Well, not 3/4. Almost at the end of the film. I don't like the direction that the film went there. I'm not going to ruin it for Malcolm or anybody else who hasn't seen it. I just don't like the direction the film went.
Yeah.
Stupid. I just, to me, it was stupid. But and kind of echo what Lucas said. You know, you have to have some of these. You have to have time for the dust to settle. This movie just came out a couple months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. I mean, it's still fresh. And if I would have put one from 2018 over that one, I would choose Hereditary. But yeah, to me, I can't get. Though it's far from a bad film. I wouldn't put it on a list.
Yeah, I haven't seen Hereditary yet. I'm gonna watch it here soon, but maybe I would think differently after I watched it. Malcolm, it does go back to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to nominate Cloverfield. This one was another one which you don't see the monster until the very end. This one was produced by J.J. Abrams. Just like Blair Witch Project, acting was kind of subpar, but I mean, for me, that didn't matter. It was still entertaining. It's like, and the fact that you don't see the monster at all until the last frame of the movie. It's just so creepy. It's just, you see everyone's running through New York and all that. It's just so much going on in this movie. It's just so great to watch. It's just, I think it's probably the best of the found footage genre. It spawned a good sequel and a terrible piece of garbage, which isn't worth mentioning.
Isn't that horror movies? Or I guess, yeah.
All right, look, Cloverfield.
This is one of my favorite films ever. It's like in my top, like probably in my top 20 of the 2000s. It's my favorite Matt Reeves movie, and obviously I think a lot of people would go with like Dawn or War for the Planet of the Apes potentially. But I know it is found footage, but I kind of consider it a sci-fi film.
That's what I was gonna say. Sci-fi.
I kind of consider it to be more like in the line with Godzilla and Gamera and like kaiju movies. So I love the movie, but I have to put it off of a horror list, I guess.
So yeah, going on to me, I kind of feel the same way. I count Cloverfield more of a sci-fi type movie. So I can't put it on a horror list. But Russ, what would you have said?
Love the movie. Again, I think it's more sci-fi thriller to me. And again, if I'm going to go found footage, I'm going to go something that set the benchmark for these movies, found footage movies. I'm going to go, like I said, Blair Witch is the one that kind of paved the way for most of those films that we see now that are found footage films, like Chronicle and all that stuff. That was, I mean, like I said, it's something that was laid in ground in like 1999. And like how Lucas said, yeah, found footage films were made before, but mainstream's kind of where I'm getting at with it. This really put mainstream found footage films on the map. And the importance of it in cinema history, I think, is something that just was, you know, that's why I nominated it. But yeah, for nothing against Cloverfield. I love the first Cloverfield. The second one, not so much. The third one, I never saw because I just didn't want to see it because I had zero interest.
Trash.
But the first one, Matt Reeves, probably one of my favorite Reeves films too. I really did enjoy that film a lot when I saw it, for sure. But yeah, I feel this is more sci-fi thriller, so I'm going to leave it off the list.
All right, so let's move on to Luca.
Christ. So many movies.
It'll be Halloween by the time we decide.
Yep.
Are there any British movies on this list? I don't think there are any British movies on this list. So just for the sake of the
I'm surprised you haven't said yet. I'm really surprised. I thought you would have said by now.
It might be the one that I'm about to bring up. Just for the sake of the hometown, I'm going to go with 2002 Danny Boyle film called 28 Days Later, which I think is probably my favorite zombie movie of this period. Obviously, it stars Cillian Murphy and a bunch of other people. It's shot on, I think, digital video, as opposed to being shot on film like a lot of the films at the time were, and it gives it like a gritty, sort of realistic, not realistic, but like kind of intimate quality to it. I think it's a really tense film. I think that the characters are really sympathetic. I think that the zombies, it has the fast zombies, which I think is kind of like a cool, fun twist. They're actually not technically zombies. They're like infected with a virus. It's a really bleak film, but I think there's a sort of good sense of humanity to it, and I really enjoyed it. So let's go with 28 Days.
All right, so 28 Days Later. Russ?
Yeah, that wasn't the one I was thinking. I can appreciate this film, though. It's a slow burn. I remember seeing this in the theaters as well. Shocker. Yeah, I'll throw it. Yeah, why not? I'll throw it on there. It was something different, and I guess if you're gonna go with something that with like zombie-esque type horror movies, I'll throw 28 Days on there. Why not?
Okay, going on to me. I watched this movie a few times, and every time I watch it, I realize how much I love it. It is a slow burn, but that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to get you into the characters, into the story, into the world environment. So it's going to be a yes for me. So we finally have our top 10.
Can I throw some?
It took us 28 days later.
Malcolm, what would you have said?
I would have said yes. just for the reason to make the pun, it took us 28 days later to make this list. So.
All right, so yeah, if we have any honorable mentions, Russ, start with yours.
Yeah, can I throw some out? Is that okay?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Can I throw some honorable mentions out I have that I have on my list?
Yeah.
I have 2000. I really like that movie a lot. That movie was one of those ones. It's still kind of snowball what you said. The Paranormal 2000 really enjoyed. I remember the best Exorcism movie that I thought of the 1990s to 2000 to present. Exorcism Emily Rose, for me, being a PG-13 movie and being so effective and so damn scary, to me was amazing in itself, because usually you got to go for the rated R films to throw out all the swear words and the cursing and all the goriness. This movie scared the shit out of me when I saw it in the theater. And I remember having goosebumps on my arms watching this film, and it's a PG-13 film. Another movie I'd have thrown out there, In the Mouth of Madness from 1994. I believe that's John Carpenter. And I thought with Sam Neill playing a writer whose stories come to life, he actually goes into his work or whatever. I just had watched that film for the first time a couple months ago, but I thought that the movie was good enough to be in the top 10 of scary films from 1990 to present. I have 2018's Hereditary, and then the other two I have not really scary movies, but when I did my research on scary movies, 1995 Seven was on the list. I guess they consider it a horror movie, though I don't really think it is. It's more of a thriller, but I threw that on the list anyway. And to close it out, I went with Rob Zombie's directorial debut of House of a Thousand Corpses. I remember in 2003 when I saw that at the theater, it was the only film leaving the theater I felt literally like a dirty human being. From the just the sheer grit and grittiness and just gore and just everything, the messed up banality of Rob Zombie and throwing all this random shit on a screen. I just remember it being so random, and I just remember it was one of those films that kind of just stuck with me. And the one that I was surprised that Luca didn't say from 2017, I went with Raw. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that was one I was kind of surprised, because I thought that was kind of more Luca's genre with Raw.
One of my absolute favorites.
So I kind of thought that I was kind of thinking in line where you were thinking with what you probably would have went with. But those are the ones I had an honorable mention. So I had 2, 4, 6. I had about 8, and 7. 7 really wasn't a scary movie. So I had about 7. Literally.
All right. So going on to mine, I had the first Conjuring, which absolutely love that movie. Scream 4, which I think brought it back to what the franchise was supposed to be about. Love that one. I'm not sure if you count this one as a horror movie or as a scary movie, but I have Blade. It's kind of a mixture of the combat genre with the horror element with the vampire.
I mean, I'd consider it horror.
And then I have Wes Craven's New Nightmare, because it's scary, it's funny, it's just very entertaining. Malcolm?
Yeah, I mean, I had Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland both there. I even had Goosebumps up there. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many that I wanted to say. It's just really hard to narrow down to 10.
And then going off of that, I did have one more, which was Army of Darkness, because I absolutely love the Evil Dead franchise. Luca?
Whole bunch. Let's go. Let the Right One In, Travel Every Day, The Devil's Backbone, Under My Skin, Ju-On, The Descent, The Others, I Saw the Devil, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, We Are What We Are, Raw, Inside, Hounds of Love, The Devil's Candy, The Love Witch, American Psycho, Under the Shadow, A Mare, Orphan, The Orphanage, It Comes at Night, My Little Lie, Eden Lake, Behind the Master Lock, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, both the original and the remake of Funny Games, 30 Days of Night, a French film called Frontiers, a French film called Marches, Midnight Meat Train, Dead Snow, The Crazies, The Skin I Live In, Green Room, Old Boy, 1 Hour Photo, The Host, Inland Empire, Shadow of the Vampire, Dead Birds, The Untamed, Bone Tomahawk, Slither, The Conjuring, May, Wreck, The Final Destination, that's The Final Destination, so the last one, Dawn of the Dead, the remake, Prevenge, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Tremors, Jacob's Ladder, Event Horizon, The Exorcist 3, Halloween H2O 20 Years Later, Cemetery Man, Mimic, Kronos, Itchy the Killer, Perfect Blue, and From Dusk Till Dawn.
No Mouth of Madness. I thought for sure you'd be all about that.
Holy
Said
shit!
it.
And I'm actually surprised that you had like the others in there and the crazies and stuff like that.
I love the others. The others are fantastic. Crazy is so much fun.
Midnight
Yeah.
Meat Train with Bradley Cooper. I remember seeing that in the theater. Yeah.
Film's great.
All right, guys. So we have our top 10, which I'll go right now: Wolf's Creek, Scream, Saw, The Witch, Misery, Brain Dead, Silence of the Lambs, Candyman, Get Out, and 28 Days Later. Yeah. So we have to eliminate 3 movies off the list. So write down which movies you want to be off the list.
I don't have anything to write down, so I'm just going to say my picks and my rankings.
Okay. All right. Is everyone ready?
Yep.
Hold
All
on,
right. So,
1 second here.
all right. No problem.
All right, I got you.
All right. I'm going to go Brain Dead. Malcolm,
Candyman.
Luca,
I go with Wolf Creek.
and Russ.
Brain Dead, motherfucker.
All right. So Brain Dead is off of the list.
Trying to take Wolf Creek off. I see what the hell you're trying to do here. Nah. I'm just glad it got mentioned. I'm just glad everybody kind of was cool with it.
Put Wolf Creek out now. Put Wolf Creek off now, and there will be no Oceania on the list at all.
Son of a bitch.
No Australasia.
All right. Is everyone ready?
Oh, we're doing
Yes.
it the next one?
Yeah.
Once.
We're knocking 3 off.
All right, hold on. All right, I got it.
All right. I'm going to go Wolf Creek.
You son of a bitch. You fell
I haven't seen
in
it.
suit. You fell in suit.
Malcolm.
The movie and you're voting for it.
Candyman.
Candyman.
Luca.
It's still Wolf Creek, so we're tied.
Motherfucker.
How about we vote on something that's not that movie and we go back? Or no, never mind. That wouldn't work.
Well, I mean, the other one is we could say because we're tied, they both come off.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
I'd
that makes sense.
I'd hate doing it to Wolf Creek, but
Yeah, we could do that if.
Seeing as,
everyone agrees to it.
seeing as they're tied.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
take
Take them
the
both
time.
off. I just can't even.
Granted, I haven't seen Wolf Creek, so
Look at him voting for a movie he didn't even fucking see.
hey, I said no. You guys said yes for it, so
Just kidding.
I was outnumbered.
All right,
Watch me not crying about Candyman being off the list. Acting like a mature and reasonable adult.
Wolf Creek just hit me, man. I'm sorry. All right, I'm done.
All right, so our top 7 is Scream, Saw, The Witch, Misery, Silence of the Lambs, Get Out, and 28 Days Later. So now vote for the movie to be number 7.
You take Misery out. I'm gonna throw some shit here.
I'm
No pressure, guys.
gonna go Saw. Malcolm.
The Witch.
Oh, I also would have gone with Soul.
Saw and Russ.
28 days later.
Okay, so number
Okay.
7 is Saw. All right, vote for number 6.
Okay, wait a minute. So Saw is off. Okay, so now I got to vote for something that would be number 6. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we're not knocking anything off of the list. This is our top 7, so from 7 to 1.
I got you. Okay.
Ooh, this is hard. All right. Hold on. All right. I'll start. I have The Witch. Malcolm,
The Witch.
Luca,
28 days.
28 days.
you know what? I'll change my vote to 28 Days Later.
Oh, why don't we
Nice.
just do 28 days and The Witch goes 6-5? Since it's
Yeah.
tied. You guys all right with that?
Tied at 5.
Yeah, that's fine.
For sure.
That's fine. Let's do that. Let's go 28 at 6, and then we'll go Witch at 5.
Okay. Oh, no, wait.
This takes us to 4. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go with this one.
4. Okay, I'll go this one. All right, is everyone ready?
Yep.
All right, I have Get Out. Malcolm,
Misery.
Luca,
Silence of the Lambs.
Russ.
Get Out.
All right, so Get Out is our number 4. Yeah.
Who would have thought Paul Sheldon making the top 3? This is a great day. This is a great day. Oh man, I can't
Okay,
believe
now we're
this.
going for number 3.
All right, 3. Oh,
This is hard. Oh, this is real hard.
Not hard for me. I wanted it to be Get Out.
All right. Is everyone ready? Misery.
right
Malcolm?
here.
Misery.
You fuckers.
Luca?
Silence still.
Silence.
Silence.
So that is actually a tie. So what? They're just tied at 2.
What do you want to do? Do you want to go
just
silence?
spoiled our number 1?
Do you want to go silence 3? Silence 3, Mystery 2, or what? Or
You know what? I'll change my vote to Silence of the Lambs. So Silence of the Lambs is the 3.
All right, we'll go 3. Okay, I'm fine with that. Wow.
Are we now doing the number 1?
Yes.
Is this 2? Is this number 2 or what? What's going on with this?
Well,
we're
I
voting
think
for
we
number
go
one because
to
then
vote
number
for
two
the
is
1,
just
then
like-
the 2 already become needed anyway.
Okay, so 3 is Silence of the Lambs. Are we voting on 2 now?
Yeah. No. We're
Voting for
voting
number
for
one.
our number 1.
Oh, okay.
Because Silence is 3, so we're going to vote for what should be on the top spot.
And whatever doesn't win is just automatically number 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm fine with that.
All right, so we're voting for our number 1.
We're all going to have the same one.
I have Scream. Malcolm?
Scream.
Luca?
Candyman, but Scream.
And then Russ?
Wolf Creek.
Wolf Creek.
Just kidding, Scream.
We finally
James Caan's
agree, all agree on something.
Candyman and Wolf Creek at number 1.
Black Sheep, number 1.
Yeah, fair enough.
Black Sheep with Chris Farley and David Spade. Actually,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have our top 7. And number 7, we have Saw. Number 28. Or number 6, 28.
It's number 6, actually.
Number 6.
Listen, it took us forever to find.
Witch. Number 4, Get Out. Number 3, Silence of the Lambs. Number 2, Misery. And number 1, Scream. God, I fucked up so much on those last 2 numbers, but we will forget about that. That was a very fun list. Let's go off and do our plugs. Russ, since you are our guest, you start first.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Anytime I can talk horror movies, always appreciate that. You guys can find me House Hollywood Reviews. I do movie reviews, trailer reactions, all that fun stuff. Also, Chance Ellison and I have a podcast, Notorious by Chance. If you guys haven't checked it out, check it out, subscribe, vote. We have a lot of good things coming up on deck for September, and then October we have a lot of. It's completely a month dedicated to horror films, so I know Luke will be on board with that, and so are you guys. Really looking forward to that. You can find me pretty much anywhere movie trivia is to be had. HH Wood Reviews, Instagram, Stardust, Letterboxd, all that fun stuff. I'm always down to talk movies, so I'm glad you guys had me on. Nice to have a great panel like Malcolm and Luke and you to talk movies with and be combative with. But yeah, this was fun.
Luca, where can people find you?
Not really on much. You can probably find me. Oh, you can find me doing Full Metal Geek tomorrow at I think 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can find me. I know there's a Full Metal 5 episode coming up on horror franchises, which I might end up being on. Also, tune in on the 16th of this month for at Worldwide Movie Games for a very special announcement. But besides that, yeah, not really doing much right now. You can find me trying to succeed at film school.
Sounds like fun. Malcolm.
Yeah, you can find me on Take 3 Productions, where I host a show similar to this called Rankum. And I've got to go to do TV show themes next week. You can also find me competing in movie trivia all over the place. And you can find me on Twitter, Letterboxd, and Stardust at Melkor.
All right. And if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to Film Nerd TV below, hit that bell icon to join the Nerd Squad today. I have a whole bunch of Schmoedown reactions on my channel, going back through and doing every single one of the Collider eras, so that should be long and fun. And of course, just check out, the nerd list, check out all the stuff on my channel. You can also find me over at Take 3 doing Rank 'em with Malcolm on certain episodes, doing Summit, doing a whole bunch of stuff, and over at Multiplex playing trivia. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.